What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Look, triple-typed Pokemon is not ever going to happen, I get this, I'm not pushing for it, but the idea is fun to think about and calculate all of the new matchups that a third type would create. Last time, some people didn't seem to realize that I purposefully chose only Kanto Pokemon because as I was looking through the roster, there were far too many to just do it once. So today we will be looking at the Johto region and its most likely Pokemon deserving of an additional type. And just so we're clear, this is only for already dual-typed Pokemon, even if some monotypes could get away with having 3 types as is. So let's start with number 6, Aeriados. It can be hard to make something like a spider appealing, but I gotta say, Pokemon did a pretty good job, since Spinarak is fairly cute in the first stage, and Aeriados is a sleek design for its evolution. It still looks appealing, yet it can be intimidating as well, all without looking too close to its inspiration. But I do think it could get an extra type. Currently, Aeriados is Bug and Poison, which is suitable for what it is, but I think it could also be worthy of the Dark typing as well. Obviously, Spinarak isn't really cut out for such malice, but it could be gained when growing into an aggressive, carnivorous predator, at least according to the Dex entries. Bug and Poison together result in weaknesses to Fire, Rock, Flying, and Psychic, and this type pairing resists itself with both Poison and Bug, along with Fairy and Quad resists to Grass and Fighting. Whereas the Dark type by itself is weak to Fighting, Bug, and Fairy, and it resists Ghost, Dark itself, and is immune to Psychic. Apparently some people had trouble keeping up last time, so I'll just lay it out straight. When all 3 of these types are thrown together, it would make Aeriados weak to Fire, Rock, and Flying, and resistant to Poison, Ghost, Dark, Fighting, Quad resists Grass, and is immune to Psychic. This is actually really solid, since Aeriados already resisted all of the Dark-type weaknesses, letting it gain 2 more resists, and also getting an immunity to Psychic so that it's no longer a problem. Plus, getting early access to one of the new types from the region would have made Aeriados a far more desirable choice when first journeying through Johto. Number 5, Tyranitar. I don't know if it's just a pseudo-legendary thing, but I truly think that the brilliant Tyranitar could pull off having 3 types. Now, the easy thing would be to have it simply keep the ground typing that its previous stages had, and I do love me some ground type, but instead for Tyranitar, I think I'll go with the dragon type. Now, people say all the time that being slightly reptilian does not equate to a dragon, and I do agree, and probably would go with ground, if the Johto region hadn't so largely ignored Dragon by only adding 1. So I think that our Godzilla friend could come in to give Kingdra some backup. So right now, Tyranitar is Rock and Dark, and surprisingly has remained the sole representative of this combination to this day. But putting them together gets you weaknesses to Water, Grass, Ground, Bug, Steel, Fairy, and Quad weak to Fighting, while it resists Normal, Ghost, Fire, Flying, Poison, Dark, and is immune to Psychic. As we know, the Dragon type is weak to Ice, Dragon, and Fairy while resisting all of the starter Pokemon types. So combining all these types results in weaknesses to Ground, Bug, Ice, Dragon, Steel, and 2 Quad weaknesses to Fairy and Fighting, while resisting Dark, Normal, Flying, Electric, Poison, Ghost, and a Quad resistance to Fire, and is immune to Psychic. So still just as many strengths as weaknesses, maybe a little imbalanced, but really it could be worse. I mean, you'll have 3 offensive stab types after all, and I think it's worth it to have another monstrous representative for the Dragon typing in the Johto region. Number 4, Celebi. Generation 2 cemented a lot of things that would be traditions in Pokémon, one of those being the so-called Pixie Pokémon, that being a tiny mythical that is downloaded through external means after the game's initial release, in this case of course being Celebi. This time-traveling onion has a lot going on in its lore, and the typing does make sense to me. Grass and Psychic seems a perfect fit for a temporarily charged Forest Guardian. And I don't think that every Pixie Mythical needs the Fairy type, but I do think it fits with Celebi. I mean, it does have those little wings after all, and even healing powers apparently, so it could fit pretty well. So the current typing leaves Celebi weak to Fire, Ice, Poison, Flying, Dark, Ghost, and 4 times weak to Bug. But it does resist Electric, Water, Ground, Fighting, and its own types of Grass and Psychic. So Fairy on its own has weaknesses to Steel and Poison, while resisting Dark, Fighting, Bug, and is immune to Dragon. Putting them all together would make Celebi weak to Fire, Flying, Ice, Steel, Ghost, only neutrally weak to Bug, but quad weak to Poison. And it would resist Water, Electric, Psychic, Ground, Grass, now quad resists Fighting, and is untouched by Dragon. Again, this leaves it with equal ups and downs, but it's got Psychic attacks to counter any poison that might come its way, and Dark is only neutral now, so I'd say that works out pretty well for our little time-traveling friend here. Number 3. Knockdown. The Hoothoot line has always stood apart from the other regional birds because there's just something special about owls. And Knockdown in particular is far more interesting than the overused normal and flying type might suggest, namely due to their psychic powers. Now they might be underplayed in the dex, but Knockdown actually gets more psychic moves through level up than it does flying. So obviously its massive head isn't just for show, and this Pokémon deserves to have it reflect in its official typing. So right now, these owls have a setup that leaves them weak to Electric, Rock, and Ice, and it resists Bug and Grass, and is immune to Ghost and Ground. So honestly, normal and flying is pretty solid, which I guess is why they use it so much. Whereas Psychic is weak to Bug, Dark, and Ghost, and it resists Fighting and Psychic itself. So pouring all 3 into our Owlin vessel would make it weak to Electric, Dark, Rock, and Ice, and it would resist Grass, Psychic, Fighting, and is still immune to Ghost and Ground. Only getting 1 new weakness is a pretty good deal, with Bug cancelling out, and still being immune to Ghost helps out a lot. But Knockdown would surely benefit greatly from stab power behind the moves that it already gets to use anyway, on top of a 3rd typing lining up pretty well with what it's already got. Number 2. Gligar. There were plenty of one-off Pokémon in Johto left to themselves. Some of them were left to rot, while others got attention later on in various forms, with one such example being Gligar. I never really disliked this thing, but it was just kind of there. However, underneath was a surprising and welcome unique type combination of ground and flying. Bringing together 2 seemingly opposite types is always fun, and here the pairing has Gligar weak to water and quad weak to ice. That's it. But it resists Bug, Poison, Fighting, and is immune to Electric and Ground itself. Sure, you have to watch out for the lightest Frost, but 2 immunities to very common types is a pretty good counter. Not to mention that the individual Pokémon gifted with this phenomenal typing has high defense, so you can take on most other Pokémon. But what else does it have? Well, when you look at it, Gligar is clearly some kind of scorpion, being the Fly-Scorpion Pokémon, and even though it is in the Bug-Egg group, I don't think that's the right path. Instead, I would say Poison. I mean, it's got like 3 dozen pointy protrusions that could all probably inject you with a lethal toxin. So Poison is weak to Ground and Psychic, but resists Grass, Fairy, Fighting, Bug, and Poison itself. When combining them all together, it makes weaknesses to Water, Psychic, and quad weak to Ice, and resists Grass and Fairy, quad resists Poison, Fighting, and Bug, and is still immune to Electric and Ground. Honestly, I didn't think that this would go so well combining these types together, but only 1 extra weakness in exchange for 2 more resists, and cranking up all of the other ones to pull double duty would make him even scarier than he already is with an Eviolite. Number 1. Lugia. We all knew this one was coming. In fact, many people commented on the video last time saying as much. Just be patient, guys, don't spoil things. but honestly, Lugia is kind of an enigma. Now, some people claim that Lugia was made just for the movie, but even if that's true, they wouldn't just leave it out of the game, let alone only have one version. So I don't know that I buy the story that it was just shoved into the Whirl Islands at the last minute, because arguably it's even more water-based in the movie, so clearly Lugia should be a water type. Now that's not to say that this Pokemon doesn't deserve its flying, because it does fly, and is connected to the other legendary birds, and it is very much psychic, using telepathy to communicate. So the diving Pokemon is equal parts of 3 different types, which is why it is maybe the most deserving of any Pokemon to be triple typed. So currently, Lugia has weaknesses to Rock, Electric, Ice, Dark, and Ghost, and it resists Psychic, Grass, Quad resists Fighting, and is immune to Ground. Really, this isn't a great setup, but Water sees weaknesses to Grass and Electric, and it resists Fire, Ice, Steel, and Water itself. Put together with Lugia's current typing, it would make it weak to Ghost, Rock, Dark, and Quad weak to Electric, and it would resist Fire, Psychic, Steel, Water, Quad resist Fighting, and be immune to Ground. So, maybe an improvement? I mean, Grass and Ice do cancel out to neutral, but I'm not sure that even the new resistances would outweigh getting knocked out by the smallest of Thunder Shocks. I think most of the time people want Lugia to have Water instead of one of its current types, but as I said earlier, each of these elements fits this Whalebird Pokemon pretty spot on. So if you're looking for a poster child of triple types, look no further than Lugia. Although, to be fair, maybe it should be part Dark-type for the Shadow version out there. So, those are the top Pokemon from the Johto region that deserve to have 3 different types. Which Pokemon from Johto do you think should be triple-typed? Let me know down in the comments. Also, be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!